In the Android world, Samsung are basically Apple. Samsung quickly transformed the mobile industry upon their arrival, and through features like Samsung DeX and the S Pen, rethought to people what a smartphone could actually be. But as they grew and grew and grew and grew, they've basically established themselves as the other option compared to the iPhone. So, whilst they are the choice for the Android world, top of the pile, I would say, they are second choice to Apple globally, which makes them the Apple of the Android world. Let's discuss why. Let's go. Now, I should clarify here. Whilst I say that Samsung are the Apple of the Android world, it is still very much Android. It still offers the Android software experience with the Samsung flavor of customization that we've become used to, especially since the launch of oneui. Customization and features that Apple will just never really allow. Samsung DeX, edge panels, multi-window, and most importantly, all of the options that you get through Good Lock and even stock oneui. The statement around Samsung being the Apple of Android world is about hardware. Because Apple pretty much has a mantra with the iPhone to upgrade their hardware safely. Replace the camera here every few years, replace the notch with another version of the notch, the dynamic island, and pretty much call it a day. Over years and years and years and years and years, this does add up to substantial hardware upgrades over time. For example, the iPhone 17 Pro Max is far and away a better phone hardware-wise than what we had with the iPhone 12 Pro Max all those years ago. And because Apple only really compete with themselves from a platform standpoint, iOS is only for them and no one else. There's no scrutiny, I guess, from their users to upgrade hardware as relentlessly as what some of the Android world has to. So Apple play it safe with their hardware upgrades and try and keep the user experience consistent for people upgrading year on year. Only in the very recent of times has that consistency wavered. The Apple Intelligence launch was a complete failure, and iOS 26 with Liquid Glass added a visual update but with no real substance from a feature standpoint behind it. Samsung, they have to fend off much larger competition. They've got Xiaomi, they've got Vivo, they've got Oppo, and a whole world of other smartphones that don't even launch globally like Huawei and Honor that they've got to compete against. And also Google has come up with hardware too. That's another component that Samsung have to consider from the Android world, whilst also having to chase Apple from behind and fending off from underneath. It's a crazy world they're in. These brands seem to have pockets and pockets of money to spend on hardware innovation. Camera upgrades that just seem to be getting crazier each year, 144 hertz displays in some cases, and massive batteries with silicon carbon tech behind it to sort of power the whole thing. Here's the thing. Samsung could easily compete at that hardware level. They've got the manufacturing resources to do it. In fact, a lot of the hardware in these phones is Samsung manufactured. Displays, Samsung manufactured. Some of the cameras on here, like this Xiaomi 17 Ultra, has a 200 megapixel camera for telephoto lenses manufactured by Samsung. But I think what Samsung is starting to realize is that all of that investment in new hardware actually doesn't come with more sales and more profit, which at the end of the day, they're a business and they need to be sustainable. So instead of innovating all these crazy camera setups and changing their phones year on year to suit that, they've kept it safe. They're playing the patient game. Remind you of anyone? It's actually taking Apple's tact of adopting slower hardware innovation and adopting software refinements instead. And I think that's a huge part of what Samsung have achieved, especially since the launch of oneui 7. Samsung have innovated their software experience drastically. Let's face it, people don't use iPhones because of the stuff that's on the back here or the hardware that's internal. They use it because of what's in here. They use it because of this software experience that they have loved and used since the start. They've become stuck to it and it's sort of become like second nature to them. You hear a lot of people say that, oh, the iPhones just work and it's easy for me to use. And the biggest one, I'm used to it now. Samsung have never had that. From the early days when they had TouchWiz, then they had the Samsung Experience, and then they finally adopted a more simple approach with oneui, which has streamlined their whole user experience. It's not been consistent from the start to now. You've had to learn new ways of using your phone all the way through. But the thing is, it's not as if Samsung have not updated their hardware in the same way that Apple have not updated their hardware. It's just the rate of how it's been updated has slowed down considerably. I look back at the DJ Co era of Samsung, possibly my favorite time when it comes to hardware innovation from Samsung. We got iris scanners, we got Bluetooth S Pen, We got Samsung decks, then we got wireless decks, bezel-less displays, triple camera setup, wireless reverse power share, all the fun stuff that was really exciting to show off and demonstrate, but ultimately didn't create that stickiness to the consumer. I do feel now if we had DJ Co still at the top of the tree making the final decisions, we would probably be having 1-inch sensors on our smartphones. We would be having silicon carbon battery tech in there. I guarantee that's what we would have, at least in one phone to kind of test the waters. Because if you remember, the S10 5G was an example of Samsung putting a phone out there to test the hardware waters. But I would say the shift from Samsung has allowed people to experience their Ultra devices at a more comfortable level, at a more comfortable pace. And their hardware innovation has shifted into things that have become more tangible, making devices slimmer and lighter. Things like the S25 Edge, when that launched last year alongside the Ultra, that whole last year was about slimming down already existing tech to make it more comfortable to use. Incorporating features like privacy display, which actually is a tactile function from a hardware point of view that gives you an extra layer of security that you get to control. But these are changes that don't really incur the R&D from a cost level that incorporating things like 1-inch sensors would, because that's a space thing. And then you've got to do that again next year when you need to update the telephoto lens to have a bigger sensor, because that's what these companies are doing here. They've changed their camera setups drastically year on year to keep pushing the camera boundaries forward. And it's great, but it comes at the cost of user experience, because you never get settled, you never get a consistent user experience from one phone to the next, and you constantly have to learn, and the phone also has to learn too through software optimizations to get the most out of it. So at the end of all of this, Samsung have adopted this low-risk approach because they've effectively learned you can make a few hardware adjustments, like putting a new camera module design on the back here, making it slimmer and lighter, add some new software features like Galaxy AI, which with more powerful chips inside is advancing AI even further, and have a device that people from 3 years ago will be willing to upgrade to because there is substantial device upgrades that they can jump to. Because that's pretty much how long people hold on to their phones for now, about 36 months. That yearly upgrade cycle is becoming less and less important because of the fact that devices are just so good now, you don't need to upgrade every year. And I kind of touched on it. If you upgrade your camera hardware every single year, you have to build new algorithms, new optimizations in the software to take advantage of that camera hardware. And then if you've built all that, and then the next year you throw it all out and start again, then you've got to start again. No matter work and intensity that's going to take, you're not going to finalize everything. In the end, it means that the consumer is going to get a lesser experience and not even extract the most capabilities out of the hardware that you've spent millions of dollars innovating. And I think Google Pixel was kind of the first to really adopt this, is it extracted the best it could out of the camera sensors that it had. It held on, I think, in the early Pixel years, and it was leading the camera charts because of the algorithms and the processing that they had. I think Samsung and Apple are smart to adopt that because it means that the hardware could be 4 years ahead of its time when it's launched, and then by the time it reaches that 4-year cycle, the processing is going to be at its peak and the consumer is going to get the absolute best experience they can. And that's effectively what has made Samsung the Apple of the Android world. Not because their hardware is the same, because let's face it, the hardware here is still superior to the hardware over here. I think Samsung have done a good job in keeping ahead of where Apple are from the hardware side of things. But I think this version of Samsung, adopting a slower hardware approach whilst making sure the software experience keeps innovating, long-term is amazing for the brand. Because if you're a fan of Samsung, you want them to succeed and you want them to stay around. You don't want them to fail and fall off the perch like Nokia did all those years ago. And then ultimately you don't have a brand to use anymore. You've got to find one of these other brands that might not be the same from what you're wanting. Yelling at them and forcing them into a corner to try and get them to adopt technology before it's ready for the mass market ultimately will work against them. If Samsung last year put silicon carbon tech into the S25 Ultra and the battery life was worse off the back of it, you can imagine how much they would have copped heat from the overall industry. And users, they don't know that there's a silicon carbon battery tech in there. They'll just use it and see that it's working less and worse and complain and swap. And that ultimately is a bad thing because it means Samsung will then even further down the line take even less risks. So I think Samsung is playing patient for the longevity of their smartphone business. Anyway, I hope that the patience ultimately pays off for Samsung because there's a lot of loyal people out there waiting for new stuff to come around. And sometimes we just got to appreciate where we are so then we can appreciate even more when we get there. And when we really look at it, Samsung are not innovating. They are. You've got Fold, you've got Flip, you've got watches, you've got Buds, you've got Galaxy Ring, you've got laptops, you've got tablets. They effectively do it all already. And then, of course, there's the other thing. If you don't want any of it and you want to vote with your wallet, then you've got that consumer choice in the marketplace to pick up something which from a hardware level you might appreciate more. And maybe that'll send a message to Samsung in that way too. I know myself personally, I'm going to keep showing the best of Samsung because I ultimately believe that we need to appreciate the positive side of the tech that we use. And ultimately that will end up pushing the industry forward because when we show appreciation for something, it shows that Samsung is doing a good job and then they can push even further in that direction. If you're in that train, you hit subscribe down below and I'll make sure I'll keep making videos and I'll see you guys in the next one. You.